Hello and welcome to our latest webcast, this one on the top 10 collector coins. Now, these may not be the most expensive coins in the world, but these are the coins that lots and lots of collectors are very, very familiar with and are well known. They're the key dates for a lot of the series that are most popular among collectors. And series collecting is where most of us began our numismatic journey, oftentimes as kids. And I think older collectors out there watching this, some of them maybe spent quite a few hours in their youth checking their change, hoping to get lucky finding one or two of these coins. So we'll get started having a look at these coins with the 1928 peace dollar. Now, what's unusual about this is that in circulated grades, most all the peace dollars are quite common, all worth about the same money except one, and that's the 1928. By virtue of its low mintage, only about 360,000 pieces were made. It's worth about 20 times what all the other coins in the series are worth in circulated grades. It's also a bit unusual that the key date in the series comes from the Philadelphia Mint, since the Philadelphia Mint usually struck the most coins and are usually the common ones, but that's not true in the later peace dollars. I believe after 1925, Philadelphia Mint was low on the totem pole in terms of the coins they minted. This was a coin that if you got lucky in the 1950s or early 60s, found this thing in circulation, was certainly one worth setting aside. Our next coin is the 21D Walker. This coin is a key date in the very popular Walking Liberty half series. As with most of the key dates, it has one of the lowest mintages, about 208,000. This was not a coin whose rarity was immediately recognized, and as a consequence, a lot of them went into circulation, and probably some may have even been melted back in the 60s. So it's a very scarce coin today, and one that certainly was worth looking for in circulation, although I'm sure not many were found. But it's sort of a sleeper. It's a coin that not everybody is that familiar with it being as rare as it is. So this was a neat coin. Next coin is probably familiar to a lot of collectors. That's the 1932D Washington Quarter. Oftentimes, this is a first year of issue for the Washington Quarter, and it was originally struck as a commemorative coin, but was so popular that they went ahead and in 1934 began to issue it on a regular basis. And it's now endured for over 80 years, and it really is the host series for the state quarters, the National Park series, and a lot of very popular collector coins today. Even though the S Mint had a slightly lower mintage, the Denver Mint is actually the higher priced of the two because fewer of these were saved. If one is looking to buy one of these, always make sure that it's certified because counterfeits of this coin are out there, and you need to be very, very careful about buying one of these. Our next coin is the overdate, 1942 over 1 Mercury Dime. Overdates are always popular, especially when it's very clear and easy to see. And this is one that there's no mistaking the 2 struck over the 1. So it's worth keeping an eye out for, especially in circulation. It took about a year for this really to be publicized because it's not extremely easy to see. In other words, it takes a little bit of searching the date to find it. A lot of these circulated, so this was always a possible circulation find. Our next coin is also another Mercury Dime. This one is the 16D. Like the 32D Quarter, it's another first year of issue coin. Only about 250,000 of these were made. Once again, a lot of these circulated for a long time. I guess collecting dimes back in the 1930s and 40s and 50s, a dime was a fair amount of money back then to be setting aside. I mean, it was probably certainly worth at least the equivalent of $1 to $1.25 today. So for the average kid to set aside a dime back in the 1930s and 40s, it was a fair amount of money to set aside. So these things are often found in about good, or very good condition, meaning that these things did a lot of hard work during the 20s and 30s and maybe even the early 40s. Once again, a coin like this, make sure to get it certified or at least buy it from a reputable source, because quite a few of these have also been counterfeited. The 16P is a very common coin, and adding a D to the back is one of the ways that people get fooled. Our next coin is the 37D three-legged buffalo nickel. This coin was not deliberately created. It was created through the excessive grinding of the die to remove clash marks resulted in this error where the front leg of the buffalo does not show on the coin. You know, it's a very popular coin like others. A lot of them escaped into circulation. And once again, these were the objects of searches, during the 1950s and 60s. And most circulated for a few years. A lot of the ones that you see today are in the VF to AU range. So, that means they probably certainly circulated for at least 10, 15, 20 years. Take special note of the back leg on the 37 nickel. They're often sort of found moth-eaten or sort of partially there. So that's one indication that you're getting a real one. Always make sure that you buy from a reputable source or buy a certified coin when buying coins like this. Our next coin is one of the ones that created a huge sensation in the mid-50s. That's a 1955 double die cent. And it happened long after people sort of quit thinking rare coins were still being made. All of a sudden, the Philadelphia Mint struck roughly 20,000 coins from a die that showed extremely strong doubling on the front, on the obverse. This was one of the coins that helped ignite a lot of coin collectors because there was a huge search for these after they were announced in the mid-50s, and lots of people checked their change for these. You can see how clear the doubling is. This is not one where you need a magnifying glass. It's a very, very obvious error. Certainly commands a very healthy price today. Our next coin is the 14D cent. It's another extremely popular coin simply because the Lincoln Cent series is so popular. Believe it or not, this coin commands even a higher price than the famed SVDB in high grades because a lot fewer were saved. The SVDB was a rarity almost from the day it was made. Since they took the VDB off, a lot of people saved the ones with the VDB. So even though the SVDB is a very rare coin, it's not particularly hard to find in high grade because a lot of them were saved. The 14D sort of snuck under the radar, and even though they made, a little over 1 million of them, it went into circulation. And a lot of these coins got a fair amount of wear on them. So this was one that was always worth checking change for. And next, of course, is probably the most famous coin on this list, the 1909 VDB cent. This is a coin even known to many non-collectors. Again, it was a first year of issue coin and made in both Philadelphia and San Francisco. Because of the uproar over the VDB on the reverse of the coin at the bottom, the letters were removed and these got saved. So even though they made 484,000, a lot of those were saved, and it remains expensive simply because collectors want them. All collectors need one of these to fill their set, and as long as demand is up to or over the supply, they're going to continue to be priced quite expensively. And I think a lot of kids, I certainly know that as a kid, I started collecting in 1964, and this was one of the objects of my great desire was to own one of the 1909 SVDB pennies. And I spent many, many hours checking through lots of change, hoping to find one, but I believe by the mid-60s, most of these had been already pulled out of circulation. And our last coin is the 1877 Indian Head Cent. This is the key date in the popular Indian Head Cent series. Even though it's not the lowest mintage, the 1909S has a lower mintage than the 1877, but the 1877 has been legendarily the key date. It's the one to get. Always have a look at the back when you're looking at possibly buying an 1877 Indian Cent. Look on the back, and the lower part of the N in the 1 cent, in one, is generally always weak. And that is one thing to look for when buying one of these, because obviously dates can be altered. So once again, I'll repeat to buy from a reputable source or buy certified. So there you have it. These are our top 10 collector coins, and we invite you to tune into our next webcast coming shortly. Thank you.